Hi guys, good evening. I'm here again to tell you a story or two. I just wanted to share with you some of the special things I have behind me this evening. So, let's see where to start. This is all the grandchildren. This was a present, but it's one of those ceramic things, I guess, or anyway, it's got all of their names written on it, and then it can hang on the Christmas tree when we put it up. And this is my little friend. She's a Norwegian moose. Do you see her? Can you say hi? She's got her little Norwegian dress and pin on, and she's ready to listen to the story. I hope you're ready to listen as well. Okay, there she is. And then yesterday, I was encouraging everybody to take the time to go and read about the Philippines and their giant lantern celebration that they have. And I wanted to show you a while ago when we were traveling, when people could do those things, I picked up this nativity. You can almost see through it, and it has Mary and Joseph and the sheep and baby Jesus, and they're in kind of a traditional looking hut that you might find on an island somewhere. See the branches that the top's made out of? It's kind of a ranchero style house. Anyway, this also is designed so that you can hang it on your Christmas tree. And it's made out of stone, so it's really quite heavy. And then these are just some lovely candles. Tonight we're going to read a pop-up book. I hope I do a good job of showing it to you because it's really very well made and quite pretty. And some of our grandsons have been in the Nutcracker, and this year they weren't able to do it. And I know that lots of people missed the Nutcracker. But most of all, the dancers that are usually in the Nutcracker would have really missed performing it. So this is the cover. A Christmas Treasury Pop-Up by E.T.A. Hoffmann. The Nutcracker. Do you see the display as I open the page? See how the picture stands up? The story goes like this. Every year, Marie and her family opened their presents on Christmas Eve. This year, Marie's favorite gift came from her godfather, Drosselmeyer. It was a wooden nutcracker in the shape of a man. Everyone thought Nutcracker was ugly, except Marie. She thought he was quite handsome. Marie let her brother Fritz play with the Nutcracker. But as Fritz cracked open a large nut, 3 of the Nutcracker's teeth broke. Marie was heartbroken. She held him in her arms long past her bedtime and promised to protect the Nutcracker forever. Did you see the Nutcracker before when I showed you the picture? There's her godfather Drosselmeyer, and there's her little Nutcracker, and here's her brother Fritz, who just always manages to slightly get himself in trouble. Aaron, you know all about Fritz, don't you? Because you got to be Fritz one year. Look at this one. what's going on here? Look at all, and the mice. What is on this other page here? Look at these guys. Oh, they're going to get after them. Oh, and there's the Nutcracker protecting her. And look, Marie's hiding behind the chair. What's going on? So, good evening and hi. Thanks for joining us. We're reading the Nutcracker. As the clock struck midnight, Marie heard strange sounds. Suddenly, there were mice everywhere. Then, magically, Nutcracker and the other toys in the cabinet came to life. "Will you help me battle the mice?" Nutcracker asked the toy soldier. "Yes, sir," they replied. The Nutcracker led his soldiers into battle. They fired guns and cannons at the mice and their leader and the seven-headed Mouse King. But more and more mice appeared, and the soldiers were outnumbered. Helplessly, Marie threw her shoe at the mice and then fainted. So, the grandsons have also been some of the mice and some of the soldiers. See this little tiny soldier here? One of our grandsons was a little tiny soldier just like this. And also the red soldiers. Do you see the seven-headed Mouse King? And all the mice? What happened next? The next morning, no one would believe her story, but Godfather Drosselmeyer fixed Nutcracker's teeth, and as he did, he told Marie a story. There's the uncle fixing the teeth. Look at the mice. What are they carrying? Goodness me, there's other things going on. It's like there's a party. That's another thing they were, is people that were there for the party. So let's read what the story is that Uncle Godfather Drosselmeyer says. Long ago, he began, the king and queen of Candytown were planning a feast. Madame Mouserink's 7 mean sons stole all the food. Oh, that's what those mice were doing with it. The palace guards captured the terrible sons, and Madame Mouserinks vowed to seek revenge. She cast a spell on Princess Pirlipat, and the king and queen's Okay, so the palace guards captured the terrible sons, and Madame Mouserinks vowed to seek revenge. She cast a spell on Princess Pirlipat, the queen's beautiful daughter, and turned her into a wild beast. Wow! Should we see again? Here's the mouse queen, the mouse that was going to have the party. Here's the bad mice carrying away. And over here are the guards. Goodness, there's a lot going on in this. And do you see? Watch how it opens. Ooh. And it jumps out. What's next? To break the spell, the princess had to eat Krakatuk nut. She had to eat a Krakatuk nut given to her by a young prince. When the princess ate the nut, she became beautiful again. But as the prince stepped backwards, evil Madame Mouserink appeared and turned him into an ugly wooden nutcracker. The Nutcracker could only become a prince again by defeating the Mouse King. Oh, there we go. Some of the kids have been in a battle with the Mouse King. Look at that. So the princess gets to be a princess again. But the prince gets turned into a nutcracker. Do you see? There's the princess. And there's another. And she's listening to the story so carefully about the nutcracker. This is the bad, mad, angry mouse who turned the nutcracker from a prince. What's next, do you think? Oh, look at this page. Oh, no. There's the nutcracker and the 7-headed Mouse King. Several nights later, the Mouse King woke Marie. "Give me your candy," he demanded. "Be gone!" shouted the nutcracker as he drew his sword to duel with the Mouse King. Nutcracker quickly defeated the 7-headed beast. Time passed quickly. Then one day a young prince came to visit Maria. "Thank you for helping me break the spell that turned me into a nutcracker," the prince said. "You really are my dear nutcracker?" Maria exclaimed. "Godfather knew who you were all along." So here's that battle. And there's Maria in her bed. And then suddenly, there's the prince. He's come back. Look at that. Eventually, the Nutcracker Prince and Marie were engaged, and on their wedding day, they rode in a golden carriage drawn by silver horses to Candy Town. Marie saw gumdrop trees, candy cane gates, and even ice cream mountains. Then the carriage passed Sugar Plum Grove and Lemonade River on the way to Nutcracker's beautiful home, Marzipan Castle. To this day, Marie and her Nutcracker Prince happily reign over the land of many sweets. So again, that's that one. But you see, the horses and the carriage, and I just don't know how to share with you see how interesting that is. So that's a short version of the Nutcracker. The next story is called Johann's Gift to Christmas. This one doesn't have as colorful pictures. It's more of a nighttime book. It's by Jack Richards, and the illustrations are by Len Norris. This one has a mouse in it too. Must be a mouse theme this evening. Starts like this. This one has more words and less pictures, but I think you'll still be okay. A long time ago, more than 150 years ago, in fact, just after the French Emperor Napoleon had fought wars all over Europe, a very special mouse was born in Oberdorf, a small village high in the Tyrolean mountains of Austria. He was one of a large family, and naming them all was a big chore for the parents. They named them Fritzy and Mitzi after aunts, and Franz and Joseph after uncles. They had almost run out of names before they noticed this quiet one sitting quietly in a corner. "Well," said Father Mouse, who had been counting all of them on the links of his fine gold watch chain. He said, "And what will this one be?" This little mouse seemed to confuse them all. He always seemed to be listening to something. Mother Mouse patted the little silent one on the head. "Let's call him Johann," she said. "He's such a sweet little fellow that the name seems to suit him somehow." "Johann," said Father Mouse, nodding his head wisely. "Johann. Very well, Johann it shall be." Johann, as he was now called, was quiet for a reason. He seemed to always be listening, and so he was. Do you see Johann down here? And this big long horn they play in the Alps. They send messages with them. Johann was listening. One day he awakened to find the air full of beautiful sound. Although Johann did not know what a church bell was, it was the ringing of the bell in the nearby church that so filled him with delight. All tumbled together with his brothers and sisters, he snuggled close to his mother and listened as hard as he could. Shortly after, the bell stopped. Then he heard other lovely sounds, different ones, all blended together. Johann felt as though he were floating on a cloud. This was the first time he heard the organ in the church and the people singing happily. Johann never forgot it. He grew bigger and was allowed to play in the meadows with his brothers and sisters. He ran and leaped and scurried through the grass as merrily as any of them. But there was one thing that would stop Johann in his merry games, and that was music. He loved music, all kinds of music. Whenever the deep voices of the great mountain horns sang out across the valleys and along the rock cliffs, or when the happy people in the mountain meadows yodeled their echoing melodies to each other across the miles, Johann sat very still and listened with all his might. His ears stretched up as far as possible, as if to take in all the music. His whiskers were very still. His bright little eyes glowed with happiness. He was the happiest at the band concerts, where he could listen for hours to the grand pa-pas of the big brass horns and the tinkle of the glockenspiels. It was at one of these concerts that something happened which changed Johann's whole life. Look at the big band, and then look here in the corner. Here's little Johann listening so closely to every note and sound that's being made. He's loving this. "Harumph," said a gentle voice right behind Johann. But he didn't hear it. He was listening to a very entrancing part of the music in which the flutes sounded like 1,000 birds singing together in the forest. "Harumph," said the gentle voice again, and this time Johann heard it. The band had stopped to rest, and the musicians were mopping their red faces with their handkerchiefs and catching their breaths and smiling at the applause of the delighted audience. Johann turned around very quickly to see who had made the noise. A very old mouse, with a kindly twinkle in his eye, was standing behind him. He was very old. His whiskers were all white and drooped at the end. His brown fur was full of silver gray hairs. He peeped down at Johann through wire-rimmed spectacles, much mended, perched far down on his nose. His glasses are like this. And not broken. I mean, more broken, but... About his neck was a shabby muffler, so faded it was hard to tell that it had once been a jolly red. I beg your pardon, said Johann, for he was very well brought up, little mouse. You must be the one they call Johann, said the old mouse in a quivery squeak. Yes, I am, sir, said Johann politely. I knew it because you were listening to the band so intently, said the old mouse. I hear you love music. Oh, yes, sir, I do, said Johann. There's nothing that makes me feel good all over like music. Ah, yes, I know what you mean, quavered the old mouse. I, too, have loved music all my life. My name is Victor, and I would like you to hear some of my special music. Oh, I would like that very much, if you please, sir, said Johann. When can I hear it? Here's the old mouse with his glasses way down on his nose and his faded muffler, and here's a very polite little Johann mouse listening to see what this man is saying to him. Let me see, said old Victor, tapping his cane on the ground. Can you come tonight about sunset? Of course, said Johann instantly. Mice are always running about when people are going to bed. Very well, said Victor. Meet me right here. Johann was on needles and pins the rest of the day. He could hardly wait. What can this new kind of music be like? I wonder where it is, he wondered. But at last it was sunset, and Johann scurried to the now deserted bandstand in the village square. Victor was waiting. Come with me, he said. It is not very far. And politely keeping pace with the slow steps of old Victor, Johann crossed to the other corner of the square where he had never been before. Johann kept thinking, oh, I do wish Victor would walk faster. But being well-mannered, he managed to keep his patience in check until they crept through a hole in the outer wall of a building. As soon as he was inside, Johann recognized the beautiful soft music he had heard somewhere before, maybe in a dream. What is it? He squeaked with excitement. Old Victor smiled gently. That is the schoolmaster, Herr Franz Xavier Gruber, said Victor. He loves music too, and he comes to church almost every day to practice and to compose music. Let's go closer, begged Johann, and the two crept quietly into the dark at the back of the church, well out of the circle of light shed by the candles on the organ. They're watching. See the big organ? And here's Victor and Johann. I wonder what's going to happen next. Johann had never heard anything as lovely as the music from the organ. It was all the instruments in the band, the mountain horns, the yodeling, all at once. And as the music poured out of the ring of candlelight, Johann closed his eyes in happiness. When he opened them again, he noticed for the first time a beautiful lady, just dimly seen outside the light. Her face, perfectly still, seemed to be listening to the music too, and loving it as much as Johann. She seemed to be looking right at him, and he felt she knew how wonderful the music sounded to him. This is his lady that he sees. And here he is on the edge of the light, just standing, holding his hat, awestruck with the music. When the organist blew out the candles and left, Johann was fairly bursting with questions. "Do you have this all to yourself every day?" he asked Victor. "Of course," said Victor. "Well, nearly every day. Often the villagers come to listen and sing with the music. That is when the bell rings." The bell! Suddenly Johann knew when he had heard that beautiful sound before. "And the beautiful lady?" asked Johann. "Is she here every day?" Victor wrinkled his brow. "The beautiful. Oh, you mean the wooden angel." He chuckled a little, squeaky kind of chuckle. "She's carved from wood. She never moves, and she was here long before I became the church mouse." "A church mouse?" asked Johann. "Is that what you are? What is a church mouse, please?" Drawing himself up as tall as his old legs would let him, Victor looked very serious. "A church mouse," he said, "is a very special kind of mouse. He lives in a church because he wants to. He's very poor, the poorest of all mice, because there is very little food in a church. In winter, the church is very cold most of the week. It is dark and lonely, and the carved angel never speaks." "Then why would anyone want to be a church mouse?" asked Johann, his whiskers quivering with curiosity, his little bright eyes eager with learning. "Why, you ask?" said old Victor rather snappily. "I should think you would know. Only the pastor, Herr Gruber, and I are here every day. I hear every note of music that plays on the organ. Wouldn't you think that was worth it?" "Oh, yes," said Johann. "I am sorry. I didn't think. To be near the music all the time would be wonderful." "Ah," said old Victor with a deep sigh, "you love music just as I do. I came here many years ago, and soon I must die. But then," he said with a gentle smile, "I would not have wanted to live any other way." Johann said a polite goodbye and was delighted when Victor invited him to come back any time and visit. Johann vowed he would come soon and often. Johann made his way home much more slowly than his usual scurry, and at supper that night he was unusually quiet. It was a good supper. Johann's family lived in the cellar of the Burgermeister's home, and the food was always of the best and plentiful. "Are you sick, Johann?" his mother asked anxiously. "Were you naughty today, Johann?" asked his father, frowning sternly. "Or did you fall in love with that cute mouse next door?" giggled his sister Antoinette, who was always teasing. "No," said Johann solemnly and not raising his eyes. "I went to visit the church today and with old Victor, and I have decided what I want to become." "Oh-ho," said his father with a chuckle. "And what is that?" "A church mouse, if you please." Johann murmured through his whiskers. "A church mouse!" roared his father as loudly as any mouse can roar. "A church mouse!" shrieked his mother, hiding her face in her apron. "A church mouse!" chorused his brothers and sisters before turning to peals and squeals of laughter. "Yes," said Johann more firmly and looking at all of them defiantly, "I want to be a church mouse." "But why?" grumbled his father. "Church mice do nothing. They are the poorest of all mice. They have nothing." "No," said Johann, his whiskers quivering with his own bravery. "They have something. They have music from the organ every day. You won't get fat on music, said his father grimly. I tried some music manuscript once. Very dry, not very much taste. No, father, said Johann earnestly. I listen to the music. It makes me feel good all over. Well, the argument went on so long and so loudly that the Burgermeister angrily put his cat down in the basement. That will quiet those pesky mice, he said. There's the whole family making fun of Johann's choice. What's next? Time went by, and there were many more arguments about Johann's idea, but nothing could change his mind, and he went often at dusk to sit happily with old Victor and listen to the organ. But it was summer, and Johann still liked to scamper in the long grass and the flowers and play with his brothers and sisters. In the autumn, when the trees were beginning to lose their leaves and the grass was becoming dry and yellow in the mountain meadows, he heard that old Victor, whom he had not visited for many days, was dead. Oh dear, thought Johann, now there is no church mouse. And he immediately decided to take Victor's place. Of course, there was another big family argument. But they soon saw that Johann's mind was made up. His mother made him a good lunch and a piece of cheese in it so big he was scarcely able to carry it. She cried, of course, and had to wipe her eyes with the corner of her checkered apron. His father harumphed and garumphed a lot, but he gave Johann a thick, warm jacket and a big, bright green woolly muffler, and then he wiped his glasses on his handkerchief, blew his nose loudly, and patted Johann on the head. All his brothers and sisters kissed Johann tearfully as he went off to make his home in the church. You see this? Oops. There he goes with his big bunch of cheese, and there's his family waving goodbye. After he had been the church mouse for 2 months, Johann knew that every word old Victor had told him was true. It was certainly cold in the winter time. There was never very much to eat, as the pastor was poor, and there were not many crumbs left from his table. The fine lunch his mother had packed was gone after the first week, although he had tried to nibble at it just a little at a time. His warm jacket had become threadbare, and his fine muffler had lost much of its bright color, as well as a good deal of its warmth. But there was the music. Franz Xavier Gruber, the young schoolmaster, composed such marvelous music and played on the organ so beautifully. And then there was the carved angel. Somehow Johann and the angel had become friends. Johann always felt the angel was looking directly at him with such a kindly look. He knew that in her wooden heart she loved him and was glad he had come to her church. There's one cold-looking little mouse. Oh, so sad, with his long tail and his hat on the end to keep the tip of his tail warm. Now, as Christmas approached in the year 1818, the Tyrol was very deep in snow. It was a difficult winter for everyone, and Johann didn't even find bits of candy or sweet cookies that the children sometimes dropped. And although Johann's heart was happy with the choir rehearsal of Christmas songs and Herr Gruber's practices for the organ recital he gave every year, he was hungry, and so was the countryside. Deep snow. It's 1818 in northern Austria in the Tyrol Mountains. Wonder what's going to happen next. One night, while behind the organ, almost fainting with hunger, he thought, if only I could nibble a little of the leather from the organ's bellows, I could survive until Christmas. Johann knew that at Christmas, all the people made a special effort to bake something nice for the pastor, and he knew that he would get his share. But Johann was aware he needed something now, or he would not live to hear the Christmas music or share the pastor's gifts from the villagers. So he nibbled just a little bit on the leather. In his hunger, he returned the next night to nibble a little more on the bellows leather, and the next, and the next. The bellows are inside the organ, and they help the organ have air to make the sound. But I don't think Johann knows that. Oh boy. If I could turn pages. Until one night, the organ would not make a sound when Herr Gruber played it. He looked the organ over carefully. "Oh!" he cried. "A mouse has gnawed the bellows. We must send at once for Karl Morauscher." Herr Morauscher was a famous organ builder and mender who lived in a nearby village. Herr Gruber rushed off to tell the pastor, but the kindly pastor just looked at him sadly. "Alas, Herr Gruber," he said, "with the hunger and poverty which has been our lot since the war, there is no money left. All our parish funds have been spent to help the poor. We have nothing left for things like fixing organs." "This is terrible," said Herr Gruber. "The people always look forward to music at Christmas. It helps them forget their poverty and the war, and it makes them think of the one who fed the poor and who was called the Prince of Peace." Johann heard every word of the conversation. His heart almost broke with shame. He crouched in a corner and trembled with dread, thinking of what he had done. He dared not look the angel in the face. He was sure that he would see there the sorrow he knew she felt for his weakness. "I have failed," thought Johann miserably, with tears trickling down his whiskers. "I am not a good church mouse." And then he heard pastor say, "Wait, Herr Gruber, I have an idea." Look at the sad mouse. He is so sad he did something. He didn't realize how bad it was, the thing that he was doing. He thought he was just doing what he absolutely needed to do, just to survive. But the pastor has an idea. "I have recently written a humble poem about the way I feel on Christmas Eve. Perhaps you could compose some music to fit the words, and we can teach it to the choir, and you can accompany it on the guitar. Perhaps with a new Christmas song, the people will not mind if the Christmas Eve program is different from other years." "I will try, Pastor," said Herr Gruber. "The time is very short. I will gather some choir members in my home, where it is warmer, and try." So here's the pastor who's written the poem, and here's Herr Gruber. The days passed quickly as the year moved toward Christmas. The pastor was so busy with the preparations, he'd hardly touched his simple meals, so there was plenty for Johann to eat. But Johann could hardly touch the food. He was so miserable over the trouble he had caused and the fact that he might have spoiled the whole Christmas music program. He crept around the church close to the walls. He dared not lift his eyes to the angel. And then it was Christmas Eve. The bell in its steeple rang out its happy call across the snow. But in his corner, Johann cringed with shame. The bell was calling everyone to witness his terrible deed. The people of Oberndorf crowded the church. They did not look as happy as they usually did. They knew about the organ, and they did not expect to enjoy the Christmas music in the old way. The pastor spoke to the people. "My friends," he said, "you all know what has happened to our organ." In his dark corner, Johann shivered. But the pastor went on with a smile. "Our dear friend, Herr Gruber, has composed some music for a little Christmas poem of mine. We will sing it, and pray our humble offering will be acceptable to God." Herr Gruber struck a chord on his guitar, and the choir began to sing. Slowly at first, then rapidly, a look of delight spread over the faces of the villagers. Even more slowly, the music pierced the blanket of misery in which Johann huddled. "Why," he thought, "it's beautiful. It's the most beautiful music I have ever heard." Hi, everyone. And the choir sang, "Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright." Johann raised his eyes to the angel, and it seemed as if a special warm light, not just the reflection of the candles, glowed all around her. For the angel was looking right at him, and he thought she smiled. And he seemed to hear the angel say in a sweet voice, "Little Johann, because of you, the whole world will have a special song of praise to sing at Christmas." Here's all the people going into the church, all bundled up. Can you see them? Look at all the snow on their roofs. They're all bundled warm to keep out the cold. And here's the choir singing with Pastor Gruber. The schoolmaster Gruber, and the angel. And in the corner, where's the little mouse? He's hiding. But the angel sees the little mouse. And so we have the hymn. One verse. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Composed by Francis Xavier Gruber. Words by Joseph Moore. And that's the story. And so it came to be, as the music rose from the church and floated out across the glittering moonlit snow of the Tyrol. Herr Mauracher fixed the organ and took the manuscript of the new song in part payment. From musician to musician, it spread around the world. It rings out every Christmas in the hearts and in the voices of men everywhere. But every day of his life, it rang with special joy in the heart of a little mouse named Johann in the village of Oberndorf, high in the Austrian Tyrol. There's the mountains they live in. And there's the happy little mouse. And that's the song for tonight. I'm so glad you got to sing with me. I hope you have a great evening. Merry Christmas still. It's a couple days off, but this is all part of our Christmas. Love you. Sweet dreams. Jesus keep you. Good night.